shooting at a synagogue less than 2 weeks ago in Pittsburgh that killed 11 people touched every faith group, including Catholics. The city's Catholic bishop wrote an op-ed in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette last week. In it, Bishop David Zubik said, quote, "Against whom do we harbor anger, resentment, or contempt? Even when our anger seems justified, God calls us to repent of it and love the person in question." Joining me now is Bishop Zubik of Pittsburgh. Your Excellency, welcome back to the program.
Well, you're welcome, and I appreciate the opportunity to be with you, especially on such a sensitive topic.
Oh, and especially today, Bishop, when Americans woke up to another mass shooting, this time in California. You know, when it happened less than 2 weeks ago in Pittsburgh, you lost 3 people close to you in that shooting. Your community is known for its especially close bond between Catholics and Jewish people. How specifically has this tragedy strengthened your relationship?
Well, I think, first of all, it's strengthened the relationship between the entire Pittsburgh community, not just the Catholic diocese, but the entire 6 counties of southwestern Pennsylvania and even beyond, in terms of our coming together to support the Jewish people. But once again, to take a look at ways in which we can really stop this violence that continues to rip our hearts apart.
You, in your op-ed, you wrote, "These murders show what lies, gossip, and malice can lead to." What can we, Bishop, as people of faith, do to soften the tone of today's rhetoric, or is there another solution?
I think the first place that we have to begin is to take a look, wherein is there prejudice in each of our lives? And if we're saying to ourselves that we don't hold prejudices, then we are lying to ourselves. Because I think that whenever there are feelings of anger, prejudice, bigotry that go unchecked, you can see exactly what happens. And especially if someone continues to speak to somebody else who holds the same prejudices, there's no limit to where the hatred or the bigotry will grow. So it seems to me that it's really important in each of our own lives that we have to do an honest examination of conscience in terms of how do we look for and see the face of God in the face of every person whom we meet.
We talked to an emergency room trauma nurse, to your point, who cared for the shooter, and he is Jewish. He said he did it, quote, "because love in the face of evil gives others hope." How can we as Catholics resist anger and, as Pope Francis said, extinguish the outbreaks of hatred that develop in our societies?
I think that example is a perfect one. It's by our actions that go counter to actions of hatred and bigotry that we begin to make an impression on each other, and that we stand fast on all of that. I think sometimes we don't step up to the plate to act out the charity that is our principal obligation as disciples of Jesus.
Before we let you go, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops meets next week for its fall General Assembly. We'll be there covering it. On the agenda is addressing the clergy sex abuse crisis. What measures would you like to see implemented regarding holding bishops accountable?
Well, that has been a cry, I think, of priests since the 2002 charter. And I think that we come together now in the light of so many things to take a look at our responsibility as bishops to see how we do have to be accountable. And I think the plan of action that is being set before us by the leadership of the conference is giving us, I think, some good steps to begin to honestly take a look at how we have to be responsible for our leadership actions in the church.
Do you support the proposals for a code of conduct for bishops?
I do.
And do you support the proposal for a full investigation into the situation surrounding Archbishop McCarrick?
I do, absolutely so, because I think in my conversation with an awful lot of people, you know, folks will say they're just concerned about the integrity of the church, and I think we have to look for every way that we can to help build people's trust in the church.
Bishop David Zubik from the Diocese of Pittsburgh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. God bless you.